Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 regular closed session meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. I do have an announcement. At the 10:30 a.m. special meeting this morning, the Board of Directors adopted a resolution declaring the results of the election held on November 5th, 2024 for the directors in EBMUD Wards 1, 2, 5, and 6. In accordance with the MUD Act, Section 11865D, a person elected to fill a position to which a vacancy appointment was made shall take office immediately upon issuance of the certificate of election by the Secretary of the District, after qualifying according to law. Immediately following the 10:30 a.m. special meeting this morning, the Secretary issued the certificate of election for Ward 2, and Director Gomez took the oath of office with a notary. These actions allow Director Gomez to participate in today's closed session and 1:15 regular meeting today. Welcome back, Director. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Director Chan?
Present.
Director Gomez?
Here.
Director Katz is not in the room. Director Lenny?
Here.
Director Patterson is not in the room. Director Young?
Here.
President McIntosh?
Here. Do we have any public comment, whether in person or online?
No public comment.
All right, then the board will now convene to conference room 8 to discuss closed session agenda items 1 through 2 and is scheduled to return here for the regular meeting at 1:15. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 regular business meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. I do have one announcement. At the 10:30 a.m. special meeting this morning, the Board of Directors adopted a resolution declaring the results of the election held on November 5th, 2024 for the directors in EBMUD Wards 1, 2, 5, and 6. In accordance with the MUD Act, Section 11865D, a person elected to fill a position to which a vacancy appointment was made shall take office immediately upon issuance of the certificate of election by the Secretary of the District after qualifying according to law. Immediately following this morning's 10:30 a.m. special meeting, the Secretary issued the certificate of election for Ward 2, and Director Gomez took the oath of office with the notary. These actions allow Director Gomez to participate in today's meetings. Welcome again, Director Gomez. We will receive reports from this morning's Planning Committee meeting under item 16. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Present.
Director Chan?
Present.
Director Gomez?
Present.
Director Katz?
Present.
Director Lenny?
Here.
Director Patterson?
Here.
Director Young?
Here.
President McIntosh?
Here, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, that moves us to the 2024 assignments for committees.
One moment.
Oh,
You have, after the pledge, you have another announcement?
As announced at the beginning of the meeting, Director Gomez took the oath of office with the notary immediately following the 10:30 a.m. special meeting this morning. At this time, her husband, the Honorable Judge John Larson, will administer a ceremonial oath of office. Forgive me, that's awfully special. Come on up, Judge.
Come into the
All right.
Proceed.
Want to step up
Director.
some, Luz? Go closer. You can go closer to him.
Closer to each other?
Correct. Right there.
Oh, there I am.
Kind of feels like that.
So you're closer to me.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I think.
All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
I, Luz Gomez,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies,
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that they take this obligation freely without any reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Right.
Luz, would you like to say a few words?
I'll say a couple of words. So first of all, thank you to my husband, and I want to say that today is the culmination of a journey that began in the spring when I learned about the vacancy on the board. And it's a journey that has been deeply rewarding as I learned so much there is to learn and the work that every day we do to deliver clean, delicious water to 1.4 million people in the East Bay. So today I give thanks to Directors Patterson, McIntosh, and Linney for your incredible service and for believing in me back in April. And I look forward to serving with the rest of the remaining board, hopefully for many years to come. I will miss you, and I look forward to the days ahead. I also want to thank and recognize staff for all you have done to get me up to speed. And one more thank you to my husband. Thank you for getting me to this very monumental phase of my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gomez. The updated 2024 assignments for board committees, joint powers authorities, and associations were included in your agenda materials. The updates reflect assignments for newly elected board member Gomez. Are there any questions or comments on the proposed assignments? Hearing none, is there a motion and a second to approve the proposed assignments?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Director Gomez, a second by Director Lenny.
No,
Oh, by Director Chan. If there's nothing further, all in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that's approved. All right, that moves us to public comment.
President McIntosh, were there any announcements from closed session?
No, there are no announcements from closed session.
Thank you.
So, public comment. So we have Selena Chin from Lena Tam's office for a proclamation or resolutions, and Sonia Bustamante from John Joya's office. Come on up, Selena. Don't see, okay. Come on up, Sonia. Okay. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Just either mic is okay?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, directors.
Afternoon.
Thank you for having me today. My name is Sonia Bustamante. I am Chief of Staff for Supervisor John Joya. And I'm here today to recognize our board director, Lisa McIntosh, for her 26 years of service on this board. And, you know, many of you may know, but for the record, Supervisor Joya, he was director and he was representative of this same seat. And then he vacated when he won his county supervisor seat, and Lisa came and filled in the rest of that term and has continued to lead with excellence during her tenure here.
And a special note about John, he really insisted that I go for the appointment for this seat. So I
Yes.
have to thank him for that, especially.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, he appreciates you and wants to honor you for your dedication, service, and commitment during this time. And, you know, Director McIntosh, you've really risen. You're an icon. People who know you hold you in the highest regard. You're a legend. People who don't know you are inspired by you. This is a result of your community involvement and leadership on this board and in our community. Here on the board, you've done some amazing work, like ensuring we have reliable water supplies and to keep it affordable for years and decades to come to the future. You're a trailblazer. And on behalf of Supervisor Joya and the Contra Costa Board of Supervisors, I do have this proclamation. I'm going to read the last declaration on behalf of them, which is, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Contra Costa County does hereby recognizes in gratitude Lisa McIntosh and her dedication to representing the communities in West County and her positive impact to the larger Bay Area region for the past 26 years of service on the EBMUD Board of Directors and for her long history of public service. This has been passed by unanimous vote of the Board of Supervisors, members present this third day of December, which was last week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
I promised that I wouldn't get teary-eyed today, but that just started it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank John.
I will.
Thank the entire board. And I'm expected to keep going. I know. All right. Okay, so are there any other public speakers?
So you have, I believe, 3 additional cards, and those are related to just giving thanks to the
Okay,
outgoing board members, if you
so
want to go ahead and call those.
We've got Sonia first, so next, Randy Canals, our beloved Randy Canals.
Thank you, President McIntosh. And for the new board members, I worked here for 23 years. I was the head of the Governmental Affairs Office, and in that role, I worked very closely with all of the board members and the general manager. And when I learned that these 3 individuals are retiring, I had to be here, and I had to promise myself, you can't cry. As much as you love them, you respect them, and you admire their behavior. And that's true for Marguerite and Andy, all of you guys. But these 3, their term of office was pretty close to my term of office here. So I just want to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about the accomplishments, the very bold accomplishments that these 3 board members led the charge on. One was to link land use and water supply planning at a time when we were embroiled in controversy over Doherty Valley. And the county, Contra Costa County, and some of the builders were after us and saying that we were playing games. Nothing could be further from the truth. We were simply trying to protect the water supply of existing customers before we took on new customers. And so when we first took this bill, first in 93, and then in 95, and then in 98, and then in 2001, this took 11 years, 11 years. I had hair when I started on this bill. But this board would not give up, would not give up. And when we first took this bill to Aqua at their legislative committee, I was the only voice saying that we needed a law to do this. Every other agency around the table just kept silent. Not our business. It's not our business. If the cities and counties want to approve new development, we're not there to stand in the way. We're just there to serve. And we had to argue, and we had to argue. And your colleagues came under a lot of pressure to give it up. Pull Knaus off that bill, get Knaus out of that game. So that's one and now it's common sense. You ask anybody, well, should this be the law? Their answer is, well, isn't it already the law that you've got to have water before you approve new development? But back in the 90s, there was no law. And when we had debates, disputes, we had to settle them in the courts. Am I done? I've got two more.
No, yes.
The second issue came up in 2006. The staff came to the board and said, you know, for years now, EPA has been helping us and requiring us to get lead out of solder, out of pipes, out of everything. But we don't have any authority once that water leaves our jurisdiction and gets into the home. We have no authority. And the faucets are a huge source of lead. And they said, you know, we should try and get faucets to come into the 21st century. And so they turned to me and they said, well, what can we do? I had my staff spend time surveying all the states in the country, all the states in the US. Nobody in the country had a standard higher than, or better than 8% lead. You could have as much as 8% lead in a faucet. Then I said, well, look overseas, because sometimes Japan or Scandinavia, nobody had a tougher standard. So I went to Dennis and I said, Dennis Deemer, and I said, you know, we can't, how can we do this? How can we do this? We're by ourselves. There's nobody we can say we're going to do it just like they did it. And the faucet industry was dead set against having to meet a tougher standard. And then I said, well, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. And these individuals said, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And Wilma Chan was our author. And in 1 year, it was the law of California. And then we came back. We talked to the lead industry, the faucet industry. States were all over the map wanting to do a tougher standard, a lesser standard. States wanted to do, you know, they said, well, we're going to do what California did. The faucet industry was going nuts. They said, if you want to take this and make it the federal law, we won't oppose it. We won't oppose it. So 3 years later, Anna Eshoo and Barbara Boxer did it in Washington. So it's now the law of the land across. But these individuals made that commitment. And I want it to be recognized by the staff who are here and everybody else who are here, the boldness, the braveness, the courage that your colleagues showed. And the third issue that I want to bring up is in 2007, 2008, when the housing industry collapsed. We had tenants, customers of ours who were tenants, coming up here to this podium and saying, you know, you're shutting us off. You're shutting our water off, and yet we're paying our bills to the landlord. But landlords were walking away from property. You remember when that was happening. They were walking away. They weren't paying anything. It was a negative cash flow for them. And who was getting hurt? Well, the tenants were getting hurt. So again, this board said, we got to do something. We got to change the law. We got to make it so that we can get a lien on the property. We can do something so we can continue to serve water while the issue of liability and who's responsible for it gets sorted out. So, and I'll stop there, I promise, I promise. But I just, you know, there are so many other things. There are so many other things that your colleagues did for the customers of EBMUD and for the citizens of California and for the nation as a whole. So you, new board members, you have big shoes to fill, you have tall order, and we had fun while doing it. This is a picture of Mr. Lenny and yours truly that we took. And I don't know if you do this kind of thing with you today with. And I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I left my home and forgot to bring little Wally with me.
Oh,
And little Wally was a very, very important part of the staff, wasn't he?
You use little Wally's time.
yeah.
So anyway, thank you for indulging me, and I love you guys,
Love you too,
and
Randy.
you did wonderful things. You did amazing things in your tenure on this board, certainly.
Thank you, Randy. Our next speaker is Diane Eggering, employee and local 2019 member. Come on up, Diane. Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, President McIntosh, board members, and General Manager, Mr. Chan. I am Diane Akering. I'm an accounting technician, and I'm also Membership Secretary of Local 2019. I'm here on my own personal behalf and also Local 2019 to show an incredible amount of appreciation of the years of dedication serving that you served, Director Patterson, Director McIntosh, and Director Lenny. I know all of you were here well before I ever started, and I came into an incredible place thanks to all of your hard work. You have represented our ratepayers, employees, and all the locals, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Our next speaker is Gilbert Laredo.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good
I'm here
afternoon.
representing Local 444. I'm the second vice president. Congratulations, President McIntosh, Vice President Peterson, and Director Lenny. Congratulations, Director Gomez. Fortunately, I'm here to talk. I got a little bad news. You may or may not know. We've lost two of our 444 members recently. One was the day after Thanksgiving. He had worked about 11-hour shift. He was on call, and he got in an accident on the way home. I don't know the particulars. I just want to take a moment to recognize Mike Relay. He was a 21 years old, plumber 2 out of North, taking call out of North. And I know they spoke to some of the people in North, but nothing else has really gone out to the district. Because being a graduate of the PTA myself, I know we're all spread out. So I just wanted to have him to have a voice for his family.
Thank you.
And be recognized. People I've spoke to that knew him personally, he had a very positive outlook on life. He loved his job, as many of us do. And he was very dedicated, and he was good at what he does. Second was John Coward Jr. His father is currently an employee here. He's a plumber 3 out of East area, and John Coward Jr. was a meter mechanic here at the district with about 7 years of service. And his grandfather actually worked for the district years and years ago, John Coward Sr.'s father. Just want to take a moment just to recognize that, you know. And I wish you guys all the best. Welcome, Director Gomez, again. And I hope you guys have a great holiday, and just thank you for your time and appreciate everything you guys have done for us.
Thank you.
In the next chapter in your life, and I hope everything goes well for you guys and enjoy. And appreciate everything you've done for us over the years. And you guys have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Mona Favorite Hill. Come on up, Mona. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Mona Favorite Hill, and I'm here on behalf of the Black Employees Network. And I wanted to say to President McIntosh, Director Patterson, and Director Lenny, as you transition into retirement, we would like to thank you for sharing your time, talent, and treasure with us over the decades. We would also like to thank you for your commitment to ensuring that we have a place in the district, and that please know that we will honor, protect, and defend your legacy in all the years to come. In appreciation of your service, we would like to present you with a lifetime membership to the Black Employees Network. And even though you will be retired, we will not rule out calling you to speak at a Black History Month event. Just want you to know that. And personally, I just want to say it has been an absolute honor to serve you.
Thank you. All right, that was our last speaker. So no other speakers inside the board room or online?
No.
All
Wait,
right. Okay, so
We
we
have-
will,
one moment. This is Mr. Paris and Ron Paris. I believe that you are speaking on the watershed item, which is item 13, item 13 on the agenda. So when we get to that item, I will call on you for public comment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
all right, so we will now move to the consent calendar to consider items 1 through 11. Are there any items that a board member wishes to pull? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make them. I'll second.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Director Gomez, second.
Patterson.
Oh, Bill,
And then I'll second.
okay. You got that, Reese?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. There's nothing further. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or any opposition? No? All right, that's unanimous. That moves us to our regular agenda. We've got a public hearing, item 12.1, 12.2. Oh, did that, my agenda shows public hearing on report and recommendation of the general manager.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, so that's correct. So item 12, I'll turn this over to our general manager.
Yes, so we have a public hearing to consider actions related to the report and recommendations from me for revisions to the recreation use fee schedule for calendar year 2025. These are not subject to Proposition 218, which was filed with the board on November 12th, 2024. And I don't know if you announced that the public hearing is now open. But the public hearing is now open, and we have a presentation from our manager of Watershed and Recreation, Chuck Beckman. And then we can take any public comment.
Give us one moment, Chuck. We need to get the presentation set up.
Of course.
thank you, Clifford, and good afternoon, Board of Directors. So I'll jump right into it here. Give a brief overview of our Comanche Mobile Home Park rental rates here. So I'll start with a little background on our mobile home parks. So the district owns and operates a total of 3 mobile home parks at Comanche Reservoir. 2 of these parks are in Amador County at Comanche North Shore, and the third is in Calaveras County at Comanche South Shore. Between all 3 mobile home parks, we have a total of 195 individual home sites. Currently, the changes in rent, or rent is adjusted annually based on the percent change in the housing and urban developments fair market rents, and I'll refer to this as the HUD FMR. The HUD FMR is an index. It's a housing index used primarily to determine the value of housing vouchers or other housing assistance programs. So we take the HUD FMR for both Amador and Calaveras counties. We combine those, and the average change between the 2 counties is reflected in how we adjust the rent annually. So from 2010 to 2023, that change in the HUD FMR ranged from negative 5.5% to an increase in up to 5.1%. And over that period, we saw an overall increase of 1.6% per year. In 2024, the HUD FMR increased 12.5%, and looking forward into 2025, we're looking at an increase of 9.9%. So higher increases than we've seen in the past. In response to the HUD FMR increase in 2024, the Comanche Regional Park Advisory Board proposed that the district adopt a rent cap of 5% with a minimum increase of 2%. The board ultimately decided not to adopt the proposal because it would limit district revenue from mobile home rental rates. So we've since gone back to the drawing board and developed a fee cap proposal that sort of functions the same way as a rent cap, but actually what it really does is distributes larger increases in the HUD FMR over a number of years. We brought this proposal to the Finance and Administration Committee on October 22nd, and the committee accepted the staff recommendation of the new proposal. So the way this proposal works is we would initially cap rent at 5%, and we would keep the ability to change that effective rent cap anywhere between 5 and 10%. And on the next slide, I'll have a little bit more detail on just exactly how that would work. So how the proposal that we're presenting today would work is basically if the HUD FMR increased any or over 5%, we would raise rent 5%, but the balance of that increase would then be applied to the next year's rent. So, for example, again, our HUD FMR for 2025 is 9.9%. Under this scenario, if the rent cap were in place and this carry forward balance were in place, we would increase rent 5%, and that additional 4.9% that wasn't applied would carry forward to the 2026 rent. And we would combine that with whatever the 2026 HUD FMR is, and so on and so forth. So basically, any balance that wasn't applied to the current year's rent would be carried forward. Now, there is certainly the possibility that over time, if we see larger than normal increases in the HUD FMR, that carry forward balance could climb up over time. So I'll draw your attention to the table here at the bottom of the slide. We built in a mechanism to, our hope is that it will keep that carry forward balance down in that scenario. So if we have a carry forward balance between 0 and 8%, that effective rent cap will remain at 5%. If that carry forward balance climbs up and we're in the range of between 8 and 12%, the rent cap will slide up with it, and it'll go up to 8%. Any carry forward balance in excess of 12% will have a 10% rent cap. So 10% is the highest that rent would be increased under any scenario. As that carry forward balance starts to draw down, the effective fee cap will also drop to reflect what's shown on this table. A big advantage of this, and this was a big concern from the residents of the mobile home park, is that this allows, we will know what the carry forward balance is well in advance of a rent increase. So when we mail out letters to the residents informing them of what the change in rent will be, we will already know what the effective rent cap for the following year's rent will be. So that will give the residents a lot more time to plan for a potential rent increase. Whereas right now, we basically send the letters to residents out as soon as we have that HUD FMR number and we can calculate the change in rent. That only gives them 2, maybe 3 months to plan and budget for that following year's rent. So this allows plenty of time for the residents to plan, and will know at the upper end what the maximum rent increase will be for the following year. So I guess I'll just pause briefly to see if there's any questions on that before I continue.
I don't have a question, but it seems to me that this scenario is a bit unfair to those living there. I mean, if you charge 5% in 2025, well, why not just charge another 5% in 2026? I mean, that's a simple way of handling this. And it also gives the owners of each of the spaces time to prepare. So explain to me why this carry forward makes more sense.
Well, it'll continue to use that HUD FMR, that index that we've been using. And it will ensure that we're, to the extent we can, that the rents for mobile home spaces are reflect, changes in, economic changes, with inflation, CPI.
Because historically, we haven't kept up, right? I thought that was true. We haven't kept up with the rental.
I mean, historically, we've charged the HUD FMR, so we charge them for the HUD, by the HUD FMR. The issue came up early this year when the number was much higher at, above 12%. They wanted to cap it. We wanted to make sure we weren't falling behind. And so we wanted to come up with more predictability for the mobile home park while still being able to capture all this. And this is what we have proposed. We have discussed it with them. They are good with the proposal that we have.
The mobile home park?
The mobile home park. They are
Not individuals.
They are comfortable. Well, Chuck, you've spoken to them.
Yeah, so last month, actually on the 21st, we had a meeting of the Comanche Regional Park Advisory Board, and we discussed this item. So this is an issue that has been brought up to the advisory board a number of times, and we've been working through.
By individual residents as well?
Yeah, individual residents, and then a handful of folks who, more or less represent kind of the residents. They don't have an official HOA, but they have a residents group that meets and convenes. During the Park Advisory Board meeting on the 21st, we presented this proposal. There's one resident who sits on that advisory board, and then a number of residents who were in attendance there. All were very happy with the proposal. They understand the need to sort of have rent adjust to over time to keep up with inflation or for any number of reasons. They felt like this met their needs primarily in that it gives them that 12 months of planning. It gives them plenty of notice to know what to expect for the following year's rent increase, up or down. And I didn't mention with this scenario, rent can still, if the HUD FMR goes negative, which it has done in the past, that can still happen in this scenario. So really all we're changing about our current method of determining rent is we're basically just, we're cutting off a rent increase at a certain number, whether it's 5, 8, or 10%, and then we're just carrying that balance forward to the following year.
All right, thank you.
Lisa?
Oh,
I mean,
Marguerite and then Bill.
I thought you were gonna say something different than you said, but the way that I think about this is that it's like smoothing and knowing what you're gonna end up with far in advance. It seems like a very, it'd be nice if more landlords in markets that don't have rent control would adopt similar policies with their tenants, so that you knew, kind of knew what was coming or what was potential to come. So I think I appreciate the work that you and the staff have done in listening to the concerns of residents who were facing, a large increase that they weren't prepared for, and knowing that this will help us keep up with, not giving a subsidy out of our ratepayers' funds to for the housing, but also being fair to the folks who are living on Lake Comanche. So, good work.
Yeah.
Yes, I echo my colleague's comment, Marguerite. I think the staff in shaping this kept us within the legal bounds. You see, we're not permitted to put money forth from our budget to sustain this. People living up there moved there with the intent that this would be like summer home. And now they're living in the quarter. And getting behind in the amount of use is what put us in this position. And that negative piece would bring great harm to the district and to those persons who occupy in that space. And so this is a creative way, and we have a way to recapture and to keep everything whole. I've worked up country for 26 years, and I understand the plight of most of the operations up there. And this one with the concessionaire in charge and the people involved in the process has been a good way to go. Unfortunately, when you got into the economics and the way life has taken many persons, it put them in a difficult position. And regardless of that, by law, we're forbidden to do certain things. So we found an answer. And I want to make sure people know how important it is to have a creative staff bring this to our attention and have a way of doing it smoothly. And I thank you for you and your work on this. And pass that on back to the council, the group up there.
I will do that, thank you.
Director Chan.
Yeah, I think everyone has said how I feel, but I really do see this as a best-case scenario, a win-win situation. And even though I think the stretching out the increases really works for us and it works for them because we have the money to support our infrastructure and they have time to plan and they have time to, be ready for the increases. So I thank you for and even though I've said that, I'm sure it still wasn't easy to get people on board up country. So, that took a lot of work. So I thank you for that. And I would love to move this proposal.
Second.
Oh,
Yes.
And we did have hands for public comment, but they put their hands down.
All right. You aren't finished, are you, or are you?
Very close.
Okay.
Very, very close. Yeah, in fact, I'll just wrap it up now. So basically, next steps, if approved today, we will prepare those letters to residents. So we're required to give residents 90-day notice before a change in rent, whether the rent goes up or down. So we would have those letters prepared and ready to send out before the end of the month. And following that 90-day notification period, we would, the rent would increase 5% April 1st. So without this proposal, that rent would be, the increase would be 9.9%. And that's it. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
I moved.
Wait,
So,
If we're,
So first, we need to check, are there any other public comments?
there are 2 hands online for public comment, so we're still in the public hearing. We'll need to, after we take public comment, we'll need to move to close the public hearing, and then we'll move to the item for a vote.
All right.
12.2 is where we vote.
So we'll go forward with the public comment.
Yes. And I have Kay Taylor. You should be able to unmute your mic. And you will have 3 minutes. Can you hear me? Kay Taylor, we cannot hear you. Kay Taylor, we will come back to you. I have D. Carter. Can you unmute your mic?
Good afternoon.
Hi, your 3 minutes will start now.
Okay, my name's Butch Carter. I am the chairman of the HOA for the Comanche Mobile Home Parks. And we concur with the recommendation. Any rent increase is too much, but we think this is a pretty good deal going forward. So I speak on behalf of the residents of the HOA at Lake Comanche. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And that concludes public comment. I have no other hands for public comment.
Okay. All right, so shall we move to close the public hearing?
So move.
second.
We have a motion by Vice President Patterson, a second by Director Young. There's nothing further. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the public hearing is closed. Do we have a motion?
So move to adopt.
Okay,
Second.
okay. We have a motion by Vice President Patterson, a second by Director Chan. There's nothing further. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
And we want to clarify that that was for item 12.2, to adopt the recreation use fee schedule for calendar year 2025 contained within the report and recommendation of the general manager for revisions to the recreation use fee schedule for calendar year 2025, not subject to Proposition 218, which was filed with the board on November 12, 2024.
Is that correct, Vice President Patterson
Yes.
and Director Chan?
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
moves us on to item 13.
Yes, so at the November 12th, 2024 Planning Committee meeting, we discussed proposed changes to the watershed and recreation rules and regulations. The proposed changes will add definitions for electric bicycles and scooters and will prohibit the use of personal watercraft on Comanche Reservoir. The Planning Committee unanimously supported staff's recommendation for the proposed changes. Before the board considers adopting these changes, again, we have Chuck Beckman here with a brief presentation.
Long time no see.
It's been a while, hasn't it? All right. So I'll cover this in a little bit more detail, just a brief overview of what I'll cover today. So I'll discuss the function and purpose of our watershed rules and regulations, kind of recap and review the significant changes proposed in this amendment, what the review process looks like, and where we go from here. So our watershed rules and regulations are basically rules of conduct for folks who come to visit our watersheds. They apply to both the East Bay and the McCallamy watersheds. And the way we use these is basically, these are the tools for our rangers and our law enforcement partners to help create a safe and positive recreation experience, whether it's in our developed recreation areas or on our trails, and protect the resources that we have on the district watersheds. We typically review the rules and regulations on a 5-year cycle, more frequently if we need to, and our last revision was completed in early 2019. So the review process, it's really an ongoing process, and we review and propose amendments based on input from our visitors, our concessionaire, the folks who operate or develop recreation areas, our staff, our law enforcement partners, direction from the board, and changes in state and federal regulations. As Clifford mentioned, the proposed amendments were brought to the Planning Committee November 12th, and the committee accepted the staff recommendation regarding the proposed amendments. So generally, after following board approval, we will summarize, we'll collect all the changes, summarize these changes, and share a link to the full document, our complete rules and regulations in local newspapers. We will print new rules and regulations documents that will be available to the public. We send these out to our cooperating agencies, like our law enforcement partners and county courts. And then we will print and post the major changes to the rules and regulations in our recreation areas and our trails for the public to be able to see. So key changes for this revision are the prohibition of personal watercraft like jet skis or wave runners on Comanche Reservoir, and the addition of definitions for electric bicycles and electric scooters, and finally a number of editorial changes basically for clarity and consistency within our rules and regulations document. So on our personal watercraft, personal watercraft is defined as a vessel that is 13 feet or in length or less, propelled by machinery that is designed to be operated by a person sitting, standing, or kneeling on the vessel rather than in the conventional manner of sitting or standing inside the vessel. So the big distinction here is on versus in. A jet ski or a wave runner is something that the operator sits on. To be very clear, canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards are not personal watercraft, pedal boats, things like that. These are really, really limited to jet skis and wave runners, that sort of a thing. Currently, there are no other district reservoirs apart from Comanche where personal watercraft are allowed. So really the personal watercraft are allowed by exception on Comanche. So all we're proposing to do is remove that exception. So the change right here in the second bullet will be removing that exception. The new regulation will read that no person shall operate or otherwise use any personal watercraft like jet skis or hydrofoils on any EBMUD reservoir. So we're kind of just bringing Comanche up to where our other district reservoirs are. Now, why the prohibition? Well, it's primarily responsive to public input, visitor complaints concerning personal watercraft. We've seen an increase in the use of personal watercraft over the last 4 or 5 years on Comanche. And with increased use, we've seen an increase in conflicts between different use types on the water, primarily with swimmers near shore. The violations we see most often are no wake violations. So these are when that occurs when a jet ski or a wave runner comes within 200 feet of the shoreline on Comanche and is operated at a high rate of speed, high enough to create a wake. Obviously not very compatible use with swimmers in the water, also near the shoreline. We have a number of incidents where jet skis are doing what's called jumping the wake of other boats on the reservoir. That's when a jet ski will kind of jump over the wake made by a larger boat. This is particularly dangerous in the summer when some of these boats are towing folks on inner tubes or wakeboards or water skis and that sort of thing. So they've become a nuisance for our staff. Jet ski contacts in particular take a long time for our ranger staff to address. On average, an hour from start to finish. That's primarily because our staff, our rangers, are land-based. They're responding to calls for service or complaints regarding jet skis from a vehicle. We know generally the area where the violation has occurred, but because these machines are pretty nimble, they can move from point A to point B pretty quickly, so it can take us a long time to track them down. And if the situation warrants, get them off the water and out of the park. So an hour is pretty typical for a jet ski contact on a weekend. In addition to that, almost half of the vessel accidents on Comanche are caused by jet ski operators. Jet ski accidents tend to be more traumatic than just a standard boating accident. These are very powerful, very fast machines. The folks riding them aren't restrained, don't wear helmets, so just the nature of a jet ski and how it's used and its unique handling characteristics make it sort of a challenge to keep them safe on the water. On electric bicycles and scooters, we're not seeking to change any rules or regulations around the use of e-bikes or e-scooters. We're simply adding definitions to our rules and regulations so that we can define what an e-bike or an e-scooter is not. The reason for that is that we've seen also an increase in the use of e-bikes in our recreation areas, and that has generally been positive. E-bikes are, especially at places like Comanche, I think a really, really great tool for families to get around in our recreation areas. They're generally being used safely, and we don't have a lot of issues. Where we are seeing issues is we're seeing electric bicycles in particular come in that are a little bit bigger, a little bit more powerful, and are sort of missing some key components that a bicycle would have. So they're leaning or tending more towards being motorcycles, electric motorcycles or electric dirt bikes. That sort of use is not compatible with our existing recreation uses. So all this definition will do will give us, our rangers, the tools they need to define what an e-bike is and what it isn't. And for folks that have these larger machines in the park, we'll be able to have that conversation and explain to them that anything that doesn't meet this definition will have to be put away for the duration of their stay, or will have to leave the park depending on the circumstances.
Andy?
I did see Director Young reaching for the microphone. I would like to defer to her, and then I'll come in.
I was just going to say that the planning committee unanimously endorsed these recommendations, and that's all I was going to say. Thank you.
So I think it makes sense to, everything that you've described makes a lot of sense, and I think it does improve clarity for our rangers and public safety to have definitions for electric bicycles and scooters. I do see a difference in the way the proposed definition for electric scooter reads compared to the way state law approaches it. So I wonder if that's necessary, if there's a reason for that, because the people may be engaging in popular products on the market that don't have a meaningful safety difference. And the difference that I'm referring to comes from Vehicle Code 407.5. And that the main difference is just that an electric scooter under state law does not require the device being designed to be stood upon. So essentially somebody can sit down on a scooter. The key The key limiting features of the definition are the electric motor of less than 750 watts. And the state law doesn't have the speed limit, the 15 mile an hour distinction. But I do think it is reasonable here. I am just concerned about eliminating people who have invested in a seated scooter that is designed to be limited in speed, and then would be told that, you need to be standing up for it to really count, or have pedals for it to really count. So, in the interest of, some of those devices may be for people with certain ergonomic needs, why we wouldn't recognize a seated scooter that had safety restrictions.
Yeah, that's a great point. I will say that the e-bicycle and e-scooter definitions are consistent with East Bay Park's definitions of the same. But I think, to be honest, we just don't see a lot of electric scooters, at least in the developed recreation areas in the McCallamy watershed. Certainly, the two definitions between e-bicycle and e-scooter are a lot different. Our scooter definition is much more verbose. I don't see any situation where, if an electric scooter was being operated reasonably, that we would get, in an enforcement contact, on a summer weekend, that we would get that into the weeds on, the distinction between an e-bike and an e-scooter. But I do think perhaps the next round of revisions, we can square the electric scooter definition up with the California Vehicle Code.
That would make sense to me. So I would like to not have to wait, for a 5-year cycle to clear that up. And it may be that the Parks District would have its own discussions. There may be, discussions at a regional level as well. So those are my comments.
Okay. Anything further? Okay.
And we do have 2 hands for public comment once you're done.
So like our mobile home rent proposal, this proposal was brought to the Comanche Regional Park Advisory Board last month on their regular meeting on the 21st. There were 38 people who attended that meeting. 17 of those in attendance spoke primarily against the prohibition of personal watercraft on Comanche. There were a couple of folks who expressed that they have a houseboat moored on Comanche, and they have a jet ski as their only means to get from the launch ramp to their houseboat. That's something I think that we can easily address with the concessionaire. We can either offer a shuttle boat through the concessionaire, or set aside a rental boat for folks who have a houseboat and don't have a conventional boat to access their houseboat to be able to use to get them back and forth. The majority of the feedback from the Park Advisory Board or from the folks in attendance at that meeting was primarily centered around the perception of a lack of enforcement of personal watercraft violations by our rangers and law enforcement. And I can't honestly say that I disagree with that sentiment. We do the best that we can to contact any and all violations, whether they're folks on jet skis, on boats, or in the park, anywhere. But it sort of is it's a numbers game, really. At peak staffing on a Saturday in the summer, kind of between the hours of noon and 3, I have 5 rangers and two sheriff's deputies in the park. And they're responsible for patrolling our entire 28,000-acre watershed, in addition to Party Recreation area, the McCallamy River Dees area, and our trails. To put it in perspective, a typical Saturday, non-holiday Saturday at Comanche, we have around 7,000 people between North and South Shore. So we simply don't have the resources to address every violation. And I certainly, again, that sentiment that not all jet ski violations are being addressed is true. And we have taken steps prior to this to try and better address personal watercraft violations and other issues that we've had at Comanche in particular. In 2021, we sort of retooled our patrol staffing, our summer patrol schedule, and I assigned all of the Rangers in the McCallmy unit to patrol. Essentially doubled our patrol presence, but we were doubling a relatively small number. So while we did see some improvements, we're able to sort of limit day use capacities, and we've seen some positive changes. We're not quite where I think we would like to be yet. So this is kind of the logical next step, I think, for us as a means to really, allow our Rangers to better sort of control what's going on in the recreation areas. But overall, at the end of the day, our intent is really to improve the experience for our visitors to Comanche, make sure that Comanche is safe and enjoyable and accessible for everyone. The Park Advisory Board did request that the district hold an additional public workshop to discuss the changes. We're not recommending that we do that. We did, with the help of our public affairs and community affairs teams, we posted the proposed changes to the district and concessionaires' social media in mid-October, October 16th, in advance of these public meetings. And our plan, our strategy was to have the Park Advisory Board meeting last month be the first opportunity for public input, to be followed by today's hearing. So next steps, if approved, the public, again, I kind of reviewed this in the previous slide, but we'll notify the public of the changes, and we'll post that information in the local newspapers. We'll share the amended rules and regulations with our county courts and law enforcement partners, and we will post the changes and the new rules and regulations in our recreation areas, and update all of our printed material that's available to our visitors. So all folks coming in will be aware of the new changes to our rules and regulations. And last slide here. So our recommended action today is to approve the proposed amendments to our watershed and recreation rules and regulations.
Okay. Any questions? Do we have a motion?
I think we have public comment.
Oh, okay. Online?
Yes. Ron Parrish, you should be able to unmute your mic.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody.
Your 3 minutes start now.
Okay, I just want to touch bases on this rule change. I've been going to Lake Comanche for 43 years. I took my family, met many friends up there. I was interested in purchasing a place a trailer up there, and was looking up the last time I was there. We have a percentage that I've asked them for before you vote on it. They haven't really given us 50% of the ins on jet skis, but we haven't gotten enough how many jet skis versus how many boats are up there. I feel it's an education issue going there. There's no officers on the water. Used boat patrols up there, and there's some resolutions that we could come up with that maybe, rather than just banning the jet skis, maybe educate them when they come in. Hey, you have to be sole.
Uh-oh, we lost him. His hand is back up. One moment.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me now?
We can still hear you, yes.
I'm sorry about that. So anyway, I think if you had swimming areas that were just for swimming for day use, and maybe some 5-mile-an-hour buoys marking 200 feet off the shore, there's not enough buoys marking clearly, and there's no law enforcement. Calaveras County has one law enforcement officer for 5 reservoirs up there, 5 officers on the water, one officer for 5 lakes. That's actually in Amador County. So Calaveras, they have one patrol officer as well. The lake's divided between 2 jurisdictions up there. So it just seems that maybe education, when people come in the lake, would be better off, and let them know, hey, you can't, there's swimmers in the lake. Hey, pay attention to these rules. And maybe somebody actually on the water, you know, that would be more beneficial than just saying, hey, don't bring your family up here for $82 a day to jet ski and camp. It costs jobs in the community, and people up there are coming to enjoy the lake. So I ask you all to reconsider the ban on jet skis. I ask you to think about what it does for everyone in the community that comes. I come from about 75 miles away to go up there. It's a nice lake. I won't be back if I can't bring my jet skis. Any questions for me?
No.
No? Okay. Well, I thank you for the time, and I ask you not to ban jet skis.
Thank you for your comments.
Next
other-
speaker is Kelly Taylor. You should be able to unmute your mic.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, your 3 minutes start now.
Oh, wonderful. So I'm a third generation homeowner at South Shore Comanche. I've been blessed for over 40 years to be attending and enjoying the lake and recreating. My dad was very active in the board, Mr. Van Bibber, Robert Van Bibber. I'm sure many of you worked with him, and I too am following in his footsteps. I would like to stress a reconsideration of the banning of jet skis. The reason being is a lot of the homeowners up there, as well as a lot of people that come into the park, do have jet skis. And I am aware that by 2025, boaters' licenses will be required for operating boats and personal watercraft. While I am aware that it's for personal watercraft that are greater than 15 horsepower, I do agree with what the last speaker said about education and really enforcing at the gate when people come in the boater's license and the requirements with the jet skis. I also have noticed since the pandemic that the occupancy of the lake with regards to revenue is something that I've been very concerned at. I see that there is many weekends the park will be closed and it will not even be at 50% capacity with people recreating. And so therefore that's revenue generating for the park. While I'm absolutely sympathetic to the staffing of the rangers on the water, that over the years that I've been attending Comanche and over the years that I've been on the water in our boat, I have definitely noticed that there's been a lack of ranger presence. In years past, it was not uncommon to be out on a weekend and a ranger approach, checking boats for lifeguards, issuing citations on the water for inappropriate use of personal watercraft, including boats. And I would really like to be involved in a planning committee to discuss this, because I do think that whether make another rule that requires enforcement, and I'm not sure how that enforcement would happen besides just strict, putting rules out and saying no one's welcome if they have a jet ski. I don't think that's a solution. I think that maybe putting a committee together with the homeowners as well as local people that come to Comanche to recreate and discuss, because I do think safety is huge. I am a medical professional. I have assisted the rangers on many accidents that have happened, but those accidents didn't happen just from personal watercraft. They happened from skiers. They happened from swimming accidents to drowning. So I would like to encourage that this be open for discussion and the banning of jet skis not occur today until there's further discussion with the homeowners and anyone else that would be interested. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly.
Lisa, I have a question,
Marguerite.
2 questions, actually. One thing that I recall you saying at the top of the presentation, and just want to clarify, is that Lake Comanche is currently is an exception, that personal watercraft are not allowed on lakes basically. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah. So Party Reservoir, San Pablo, Lafayette, all all of the district reservoirs that are open to the public.
I'm talking about non-East Bay Mud reservoirs in the foothills.
Oh, we would not be the exception. So I don't know about Lake Amador, but New Hogan Reservoir, New Maloney's Reservoir do allow jet skis.
Okay, so we would be, so our reservoirs don't allow, I think I misunderstood at our committee hearing. The other question I had is this morning in our planning committee, we heard about golden mussels. So right now, there's no watercraft allowed on Comanche at all, nor will there be until the golden mussel issue is resolved,
Correct, yeah.
right? I guess, I mean, I appreciate what both of the speakers shared. It sounds like we have I mean, I take to heart the question or the concern about why we don't have a ranger on the water. Seems like that's for a lake that has lots of people on the water, having somebody on the water kind of makes sense. But in terms of the other sort of educational things, I'm assuming we provide all of that information, and perhaps we could use more buoys that would benefit boaters as well as anybody else. But I'm not, and I guess the question I have is, given that we don't have any boats on the water now, is there a reason that we couldn't have some more discussion about, opportunities both to increase our enforcement on the water, some of the other things folks suggested, as well as, this idea, this suggestion of the last speaker.
And I can clarify some points on our presence on the water and buoys and education. If there are, maybe I'll wait until there's other questions or comments.
There is one other hand for public comment, and we may have someone in the room for public comment as well on this item. Just wanted to let the board be aware.
Is there one online?
There is one person online.
While the gentleman is completing his card here, can we do the person online?
Yes. Karen Faust, you should be able to unmute your mic.
Hi.
Hi, your 3 minutes will start now.
Great, thank you very much. My name is Karen Faust, and I am a resident of the mobile home park at at Lake Comanche, and I've been going there also, like Kelly, for over 40 years. We've had 2 mobile homes and a houseboat on the lake, and have spent most of our weekends there enjoying the facilities immensely. And I want to thank you guys for making sure that that was available to us over this time. We recognize and are concerned about the safety of the jet skis as well, but the total ban just seems really excessive and extreme to me. We have jet skis. Our teenagers enjoy jet skis. I sit on my deck and watch families go out on them all day long in the day use area, and I can see the accessibility that jet skis provide to new boaters and allow people that wouldn't otherwise be able to have a boat be able to get on the lake and enjoy it. I think that there are a lot of things you guys are considering, including the alcohol ban, and as Kelly mentioned, the boating licensing. There are other things that are coming that could help improve the education of jet ski users and maybe control what they're doing to be able to minimize the risks that that may be present. And I would really like to see you slow down from a full ban. The increasing the no wake zones, we sit in Mobile Home Park 1, and the day use area is right across from us. The marking there for the no wake zone is very limited. So the swimmers in the area outside of the mobile home park and the campground beside us is probably not well marked and could be really strongly improved for the 200 feet offshore where the jet skis aren't supposed to be going quickly. We have lots of thoughts, and I would join Kelly very quickly in any kind of planning committee to help make it safer for people to enjoy the space we hold so dear. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. I do have a speaker card for John Forrest. Come on up.
And we have one additional hand online for public comment.
All right.
That was my wife, and she traditionally speaks better than I do. But I too hope that you'll hold off on banning jet skis, especially with the new alcohol policies. I think there's great potential for that to limit some of the risk. I'm an X-ray tech, so I see danger all around me. I personally feel like jet skis are probably safer than most of the activities. Safer than the bikes, monkey bars, motorcycles for sure. So we all want safety, but as far as education and training or detail on the safety issues involved with the jet ski, I've been going to Lake Comanche for over 30 years. I bought jet skis. Prior to owning jet skis, I would have been right there with you saying, please ban those noisy, obnoxious vehicles. I think they're an easy target. But when I bought my jet skis, I love nothing more than cruising around the lake, right on the edge of the lake. I have never been told that that was inappropriate. So, there's a lot of young people gaining confidence and growing into who they are on that lake. And I think you're going to take one of those opportunities away from them to be a little independent, a little responsible for their own behaviors. But it requires education. And, we hope that comes from families. I sit there and watch, I've heard before this idea there's a numbers game, that they don't have enough police presence to make it safe. I would suggest maybe we limit the number of vehicles that are allowed in that they can police. Don't stretch them so thin. Over 7,000 people is a crazy number to imagine. One thing that might work, instead of having the sheriffs in the boat, maybe we get the sheriffs from jet skis and have them, they say they can't track them down because they're on land, but, evolve with the situation, and we all want to make it a safe place to be. I think with the changes in the alcohol, that deserves a chance to see how that works and see if we're not just leaping to the easy solution that eliminates a lot of joy for a lot of people.
Thank you. Was there another person online?
We have two additional hands online.
Okay.
Stacy, you should be able to unmute your mic. Stacy, are you there? Stacy, we can't hear you. We will come back to you. Call on Lansing Sharp. Lansing Sharp, you have your hand up. You should be able to unmute your mic. Okay. We have the two hands up for public comment, but let me try Stacy one more time. Stacy, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Okay, we're going to have to move on. Lansing Sharp, you should be able to unmute your mic. think we're having technical difficulties with the speakers online, so we can move on.
All right.
Can I ask staff to address some of the issues that have come up, especially around enforcement and issues like that?
Yeah. So yeah, I can start with enforcement and presence on the water. So both Amador and Calaveras counties have a marine patrol program. Typically during the summer, one agency or the other is on the water on Comanche. Rangers generally, we kind of split that responsibility between the sheriff's department and the rangers. The sheriff's department, their deputies are a little bit better equipped to make enforcement contacts on the water. When a boat goes out on the water to be in a patrol function, it requires two people to be on there for safety reasons. So in addition to the deputy that we have patrolling on the ground, while we don't have a contract for marine deputy, they're generally, most weekends out of the year, they have a presence on Comanche. But again, that's one boat amongst many on the reservoir. I would like to have more of a presence on the water. I think it'd be a good thing for us to be able to make more contacts on the water. Generally, unless there's an egregious violation, a safety violation, or a violation of our rules and regulations, all of our ranger contacts start with an education conversation. That's always where we start from. That's kind of our motto is advise and educate. And if that approach doesn't prove to be productive, then we tend towards revoking access. Our education contacts with any boater, but in particular with jet ski operators, typically starts with the question of, do you have your California boater card? Which for most folks in California at this point is required. I think if you're over the age of 70, you're not required to have one now, but I believe at the beginning of the new year, everyone in California operating a boat will be required to have that boater card. The majority of the contacts we make don't have their California boater card, which means that in terms of us making an education contact, we're really far from where we need to be with that particular visitor on boater education. A boater safety card is kind of the fundamental thing that folks need to have to be able to have that knowledge of the laws, rules and regulations, sort of common courtesies of operating a boat on the water. So generally when folks don't have a boater card, we explain to them how to get one and we revoke their privilege to access for the day.
So we're going to start inspecting boats, right? So if we're inspecting boats and we don't allow boats that have water in them to get on the water, why couldn't we basically prohibit a boat or a personal watercraft, anybody, say, where's your boater card? And if they don't have their boater card, they don't get in either. Is that feasible? Is that?
It could be done. As it is on weekends, it can take a while to get through the gate, especially for folks camping. They've got to provide their personal information, verify their camping reservation. So it can take up to 5 minutes, sometimes more, to get through the gate. We could do it. It would add a little bit more time.
Well, we're going to be doing it if we are allowing anything in the water with the golden mussel situation, we're going to be asking people that are bringing a boat, whether it's one with a motor or not, to pass inspection. At that point, anybody that's required to have a boater card needs, seems like that would be one step in the process, and it doesn't take more than a few seconds to say, show me your boater card. You don't have it, you're, turning around.
Yeah, and we could do that. One challenge we run into now is that typically, or we see this a lot with jet skis, is you'll get a big group of folks, a big family or a number of families, maybe 20 or 30 people in a group. And they come in with 2 or 3 jet skis and they kind of change users. You know, amongst that family, there's maybe 10, 15, 20 out of that group that are operating the jet skis throughout the day. So, you know, we would have to verify that each one of those operators had their voter card. But it's not out of the question to do that. We are inspecting, well, right now we're not letting any boats in, as you mentioned. Previously, we do. We typically have an inspector on site at Comanche North and South Shore every weekend. And they're running through that boat inspection with folks coming in. So there's a possibility we could do that.
Clifford, this is running a lot longer than
Yeah.
anticipated, and I think the last question of a board member was, can this be put over?
Yes, I mean, since we're not allowing any watercrafts on the lake right now, I mean, we can bring this back and, the new board can consider this. This is going to be, sounds like it's going to be a longer discussion. Maybe it's an opportunity to speak with some of the speakers that have spoken with, you could talk about the logistical issues with some of the recommendations, and maybe they have some recommendations that we haven't considered either. So why don't we do that?
The alternative would be to maybe split this into 2 pieces.
Yeah, we could split just the personal watercraft and maybe have you vote on the definitions of the scooters, the bicycles, and then the editorial corrections.
Well, I did have a concern about the scooter definition, so it may serve.
I mean, can
Why
we put
don't we hold
everything-
it all off then? We'll take it next year.
Does that meet with everyone's approval? Yes. Okay, because we do have folks waiting for us. And we don't want to just hurry this through, because people have real concerns. So, yeah,
I won't be here in the future,
me either.
and
You really relish the idea of wanting to vote on this.
what I'm afraid of, and you have to understand my sensitivity because I've always worked up country and with our reservoirs and whatnot.
Sure.
You see, we're at a time, at a juncture in the road where whatever activity approved on a reservoir has to be distinguished between a lake or some other open body of water and what is appropriate to go with it, because if you don't have any enforcement, if you don't have anybody there, then you got open season. And this is not something that should be borne by the ratepayers, because that's our drinking water. That's not, we're not in the recreation business. We have afforded an opportunity for people to co-use it. And as far as the education is concerned, I want to make sure I put on the record that you don't have time to orient people as they enter or come to the facility. All that has to be done in advance. They have to pass something and have something available to show that they have been certificated. It's like putting a person in the car and turning them loose on the street. So I want to make sure that's on the record. And we're not anti anything, but there's a limit to what we can do given our fiscal status and what we have to work with. And so I want to make sure that's included going forward. And I appreciate the staff and all the look into it is about, but you have a lot of people who, they don't have any, they got no skin in the game. They just want to make comments.
Well, there's nothing to prevent you from coming back and speaking before the board.
I thank you for that opportunity, and that may well be the case, but I would hope that going forward, within the framework of our staff, we have people who will investigate and be on the top of things, because that's what I had to do for 20-something years, and you don't get that by just coming every time there's a meeting. You have to have skin in the game. So And we're about the people, so if we want to represent their views, we also have to educate them so that they know what their responsibility is.
Thank you.
You're gonna get somebody killed otherwise.
All right, so thank you
We'll
so
hold off.
much.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Director Patterson. Moving on to the next item, as you probably surmised, today is the last board meeting for President McIntosh, Vice President Patterson, and Director Linney. We want to thank each of you for your decades of service to the district and your support for the communities we serve. And so we have 3 resolutions acknowledging your service achievements. And I'd like to.
Clifford, I'm sorry. I do see Selena Chin in the audience from Lena Tam's office. She has arrived, so I just want to make that known for everyone. So you can decide when you want her to speak and et cetera. I'll leave that to you.
Well, why don't we have Selena come up first then?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to learn about jet skis.
Interesting conversation.
It is. I spent 25 years working on tobacco control, so I know all about waste management contracts. You go to city council meetings and you're always the last item. But I'm a pale comparison to Supervisor Lena Tam, who was formerly known as one of your managers here. And she's very sorry not to be here instead of listening to the debate about the DA's office. But so be it. I've been tapped to present the resolutions to the sports guru of Oakland, Mr. William B. Patterson. Whereas William Bill Patterson has represented East Oakland and the areas south of Park Boulevard and Fifth Avenue to the San Leandro border for 27 years, as he has so reminded us tonight. And whereas Mr. Patterson has been an advocate for diversity and equality in employment and contracting while serving as East Bay MUD Board President and currently Vice President, as well as on multiple committees overseeing legislation, human resources, finance, and administration. And whereas above and beyond his commitment to East Bay MUD, Mr. Patterson is one of the City of Oakland's civic treasures, who for over 4 decades has served on many boards of nonprofit organizations. I think there was a seat just for William Patterson on all these community boards. And as president of the NAACP, and most recently as a member of the Urban Strategies Council Board of Directors. Mr. Patterson also served on Oakland's Public Ethics Commission, bless you, the Parks and Recreation Commission, and the Workforce Investment Board. Whereas many of the great superstar athletes from Oakland, like Bill Russell and Joe Morgan, were mentored by Mr. Patterson when he worked for Oakland Parks and Recreation as manager. He is the secret sauce to all of these Oakland-born superstar athletes. This is one of his hidden talents, but of course, you obviously know this after he has herded you folks around for several years. And whereas Mr. Patterson served as a close confidant and advisor to Oakland's first Black mayor, Lionel J. Wilson, now therefore this Board of Supervisors, County of Alameda, does with gratitude thank and honor Bill Patterson, not only for his service on the East Bay MUD Board, which ends today, sadly, but also his 4 decades of leadership in serving the Oakland community. And if I may, can I read Director Linney's resolution?
Keep it short.
Okay. Director Linney, you are the most humble person I know because I had a hard time looking up anything fantastic about you, even though we all know you're a fantastic person. So Doug Linney has represented Alameda and San Lorenzo, West Oakland, and the Oakland Airport area, and a portion of San Leandro for 24 years as the East Bay MUD Ward 5 Director. Whereas Mr. Linney has served the environmental community of California for over 35 years as an advocate political strategist, coalition builder, and fundraiser. And whereas in 1996, Mr. Linney founded the Next Generation, TNG, to advance the environmental agenda by offering campaign services and political strategy to nonprofit organizations, environmental coalitions, and progressive candidates. And whereas Mr. Linney has served on the boards of directors for the California League of Conservation Voters, Friends of the River, Coalition for Clean Air, the Planning and Conservation League, and whereas Mr. Linney is a serial social entrepreneur, he keeps starting things, and having founded new nonprofit organizations, including Activate America, was it ZEV, is that Zero Emission something, 2030, Ecological Solutions, Center for Voter Engagement, EcoVenture, Green Watchdog, and the Headwaters Sanctuary Project. Now, therefore, this Board of Supervisors, County of Alameda, does with gratitude thank Doug Linney not only for his service to the East Bay Mud Board, which ends now, but also for his ongoing services to building the leadership and capacity of the Bay Area's environmental and progressive communities, because we know many of the winning candidates in every election, their secret sauce has been Mr. Linney. So. So do I just? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we too have 3 resolutions for the 3 of you, and I want to pass it first off to Director Katz to make some remarks.
Thank you, General Manager Chan. And today I have the honor of recognizing President Lisa McIntosh for 25 years of service on the East Bay Municipal Utility District Board of Directors for her last meeting today. President McIntosh was appointed in 1999 to fill the unexpired term of Director John Joya representing Ward 1. She was the first African-American woman to serve on EBMUD's Board of Directors. She has since been elected 6 times to the board and has served 5 terms as board president. President McIntosh has led the board through several major projects and initiatives, including the launch of the Water Supply Management Plan, which secured water supply in the East Bay. And another one of her priorities has been developing the district's diversity, equity, and inclusion program and incorporating it into all aspects of our work. The result was the implementation of the district's DEI strategic plan in 2022. President McIntosh's commitment to the community is further reflected in her dedication to ensuring that water service is affordable to all East Bay residents and businesses. This was demonstrated during her 2017 to 2019 presidency, when the district expanded the customer assistance program's range and visibility to reach our most disadvantaged customers. On behalf of the board, staff, and 1.4 million customers, thank you, President McIntosh, for your 25 years of service as a member of the EBMUD Board of Directors. Your leadership will inspire generations to come of public leaders, and we expect our deepest gratitude and admiration for your dedication, accomplishments, and years of committed service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have
It's a day for tissue.
we have Director Chan with some remarks for Vice President Patterson.
It is my honor to make these remarks for William Bill Patterson, who was appointed to the board in September of 1997 to fill the term of Ken Simmons, and has since served 6 consecutive terms as director of Ward 6. He was the first African-American to serve as board president and has served 4 terms as board vice president. During his time on the board, Director Patterson has been a tireless advocate and an influential voice on nearly every issue at the district for the past 2 decades, leaving a legacy of contributions that reflect his leadership and commitment to public service. His unwavering dedication to public health and safety led to district policies ensuring lead testing at every public school and daycare center within the service area. He worked in partnership with the late County Supervisor Wilma Chan to craft legislation to phase out lead plumbing statewide, which ultimately led to a change nationwide. Director Patterson is known throughout the East Bay for his dedication to the community. Nowhere was that more apparent than his service on our board. Known as the conscience of the district, yes, which he is, Director Patterson demonstrated unwavering support for constituents, particularly those facing financial hardships, advocated for diversity and inclusion in contracting and employment, and stood firm in ensuring ratepayers were treated fairly at all levels of government. I'm waiting for the tears. Recognizing the value of collaboration, Director Patterson has consistently championed partnerships to address the complex challenges exemplified by his active role in advancing water supply solutions, recycled water initiatives, and resource recovery efforts. Director Patterson ensured that the district was represented with integrity and excellence at community events, policy discussions, and professional conferences, earning the trust and admiration of constituents and colleagues alike. Director Patterson, we feel heartfelt appreciation for your profound impact of contributions to the East Bay MUD and beyond. We, the board, would like to thank you for your 27 years of service.
And now we have Director Young to make some remarks, recognizing Director Linney.
Thank you. It is my honor. Doug and I have been conspiring on how to make East Bay MUD the best water agency it can be since the early 1990s at the latest. It was probably maybe before that. I was part of the team that helped get him elected to the East Bay MUD Board of Directors in 2000 to represent Ward 5, and have relished that he's been reelected to 6 consecutive terms, including 4 terms as board president, and I've been honored to serve with him as a colleague over the last 10 years. In his 24 years on the board, Director Linney has chaired every board committee at least once, and thoroughly immersed himself in the complexities of the water and wastewater work at East Bay MUD. He probably has, I don't know how many gigabytes on his computer devoted to notes on his laptop. His constituents and district staff have come to know him as a listener, ensuring that he has heard all aspects of a project or issue before making a decision and asking the most thoughtful questions of his fellow board members and staff. And this includes, since he represents the area covered by our wastewater plant, working effectively with the community there in West Oakland. One of the areas Director Linney has truly transformed the district in is sustainability. His commitment to sustainability and environmental stewardship really has positioned East Bay MUD as, I would say, the national leader among water utilities in energy efficiency and resource management. The Sustainability Committee, which was created under his leadership, has moved the district forward on advocacy for alternative energy strategies, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and adopting innovative renewable resource policies, including our climate neutral commitment by 2030 pledge. He's advocated for state legislative incentives to promote renewable energy, combat climate change, and solidify East Bay MUD's reputation as a pioneer in environmental responsibility. His advocacy extended to the protecting the health of the San Francisco Bay Delta and supporting the designation of segments of the McCollum River as wild and scenic. I and the Board of Directors thank you for your visionary leadership, exemplary commitment, and profound impact that you have made on the well-being of the staff and the communities that you've so diligently served. Thank you, Doug.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the actions for items 4.1 through 14.1 through 14.3?
I will so move.
Second.
All right, who's going to take the second?
Don't we need to recuse ourselves from this self-interest?
One would think.
You vote for your pay raise, I think you can vote for your retirement resolution.
So we have a motion by who?
I can move.
All right, Director Gomez.
Oh, I thought I said
And the
it.
second is by,
Me.
okay, Director Young. If there's nothing further, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, wonderful. And then Clifford, I guess I'm supposed to step down.
With Director Patterson and Director Young.
Okay.
Take a photo?
Director Lenny.
Oh, Director Lenny and Director Patterson. Sorry.
Come
I'm looking at Director Lenny.
Resolution.
Y'all.
Resolution picture.
So we can stand in front of the camera by the podium and present. Director Lenny and Director Patterson with their resolutions. Who's brother? Here? Right. Baby into the- I don't, but you just tell me where you want me.
Okay.
Thank you. I know we are in a bit of a hurry, but I just have to say thank you. Thank you to my colleagues on the board who have not only become my colleagues, but friends. Thank you to our wonderful senior management team, led by numerous general managers, including our current general manager, Clifford Chan. I saw Dennis Deemer earlier, and I think Alex Coate will also be present. And a special thank you to the Secretary's office. Linnell taught me so much. She's present. And oh my God, she's passed it on to Risha. We as a board could not operate like we do without the Secretary's office. So thank you for all that you do for us. And to the many East Bay MUD employees, terrific and dedicated employees. Thank you for allowing me to serve you and all of East Bay MUD's myriad interests. It has been an absolute honor and a privilege and a pleasure. Each of you in your different roles has provided me with information, direction, encouragement, laughter, and good old-fashioned lovely prayers. You have educated me. Labor has educated me and supported me on my many campaigns. And this board has supported me during a few illnesses during the last 25 years, including my current health challenge, that I think I've moved past. So thank you all, thank you all, thank you all. And I really will miss each and every one of you. Thank you. And now, Clifford, where do we go?
Well, just attached to this monthly report at your place of the Speakers Bureau, and if there are no questions, I do want to wish the board a happy holidays, a happy new year, as well as staff as well. And I'll see you all next year, or not most of you next year.
Thank you all so much. We are now adjourned.